Welcome to the Earth Your Wild podcast, brought to you by Reuserbox, providing a better way to buy cardboard boxes. We're your hosts, Jack and Ellie.
This is the podcast where we talk to industry experts and change makers to try to answer the question, how do we make our businesses better for people and the planet?
This week, we're chatting to Katherine Sherry, Head of Experience at Hallam. Hallam are a B2B marketing agency that exists to do good work with good people that gets real results. They believe there is a better way to do business, one that balances the needs of people and the planet with the desire to make a decent profit. Katherine, welcome to Earth Your Wild.
Oh, thank you. Brilliant to be here.
It's nice to meet you today. I wanted Katherine to start with, if you could tell us a bit about your journey at Hallam and the role that you play today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm head of the experience team at Hallam, which we focus predominantly on kind of website projects and how that slots into the wider marketing landscape. But I also work on I have just worked on the B Corp recertification. So we're a B Corp agency, and I kind of do a dual role there. So it's been really exciting to kind of go through the B Corp recertification process and really kind of be embedded in what it means to do marketing well and do it in a good way, because it can be a bit of a messy industry. So, working not only on the experience side of what we're giving our clients, but also the experience of the agency as a whole and how that impacts not only our clients, but our workers and, how we're set up as a company. And I think it kind of interlinks as well. If we think about it as like an experience, a marketing experience, it's kind of looking at that wider landscape. So I do a bit of everything, really.
Cool. So you mentioned there that Hallam is B Corp certified and you're also Green Small Business certified. What motivated the agency to pursue these certifications?
So going all the way back, Hallam did a lot of the things that you have to do as part of getting these certifications anyway. Hallam is a marketing agency that was always in the business of doing good. And it was really nice to see that getting the Green Small Business certification and the B Corp certification, going through kind of the rigorous process that you have to go through, it was a really nice reflection for us to go, oh, you know what, we're already doing business in this kind of marketing industry really well. And okay, we're already having an impact. This is great. So these badges for us are a really great way to show, prospect clients or the wider industry that we're doing business in a good way. We're doing marketing in a good way, and almost kind of pioneering that. There was all sorts of things that we were doing, from the way the business is set up to the type of clients that we work with. In the marketing industry, you're there to make an impact. You're there to promote different types of businesses and help them grow. And knowing that a company like Hallam is helping other businesses create better impact is fantastic, I think. And being able to get the B Corp certification and seeing how aligned that is with the work that we're already doing is fantastic. The B Corp certification is gone through, because we've done it twice now. We did it in 2021 and we've just done it now, so start 2026. And the leap that B Corp itself has gone through is phenomenal. I would say, it was hard enough in 2021. They were really rigorous with the questions and the process that you had to go through. But I have to say, 4 or 5 years later, the process that you go through, it really does mean that there are so many things that you need to do to get that badge. People started to think that B Corp was a relatively easy thing to get. I can tell you that it is definitely not. And anyone that you see with a B Corp status has really got the foundations of being a fantastic business. You have to almost ingrain the system of air into your business and align that and put that on an equal footing to profit and growth. You have to ingrain that in, and think that's a really beautiful way to look at it. It's putting it on a level playing field with, do we care? Is that a success metric? Do we have this ingrained into the foundation of the business? And do we see that as just as important as making profit?
I think it's really nice that it's not something that you would just achieve and forget about, is it? It's a journey where you're continuing to improve over time. I think that's a lovely thing about it as well. And it's just, for us anyway, because we're B Corp certified as well, it's given us a really good roadmap on how to build a great business. Especially as a startup, we weren't really sure on what to do.
I have no idea what you do when you have a startup.
And yeah, it just gives you that roadmap, as I said, those tools to build a great business and to make sure you're doing everything properly, balancing the needs of both people and planet and profit, of course. Yeah, I mean, how would you sum up B Corp for somebody that didn't know anything about it?
I think it gives a beautiful structure, like I said, to ingrain this idea of care into any business. It is split up into the 5 main areas, which, as you say, gives you an incredible roadmap as to where you might be able to improve as a business. So we've got governance, workers, community, environment, and customers. And sometimes businesses focus on one of these. Often environment is hugely spoken about. And okay, is the product that we're created in an ethical and a sustainable way? Like, I used to work in the fashion industry, and it's actually how I got into loving the concept of ingraining sustainable and ethical processes into businesses. I remember going to China, and I was working for a supplier that supplied kind of low-end high street. And I remember going to the factories there and just being completely overwhelmed by how awful they were, and realizing that we have such a responsibility. Now, that was a product-based business, obviously, so it was quite easy to see the impact that was being created in making a physical product. When you get to a company that, it doesn't really have a tangible outcome that you can hold on to, it doesn't have a product that you can go, that is bad or good. So in marketing, it's a little bit more tricky to say, how are we going to make an impact, and what impact do we have? Is it sustainable? Is it ethical? But when you have a structure like B Corp, which breaks kind of responsibilities down into those 5 core areas, it really opens your eyes to what is possible. Now, they obviously have this huge long list of different criteria that you have to hit, which can give you inspiration about where you might be able to make that impact. But from a marketing perspective, although environment is important, especially when we're looking at things like AI and the impact of kind of energy generation and water consumption that has, that is, one area. But actually, we can make a huge impact when it comes to, I would say, our customers or our clients, and the impact that they then have on their customers and their prospect customers. Even more so than, we don't necessarily have a product, but our product is influence. So how is our influence being sustainable? How is our influence being ethical? So breaking it down in that way, I think, has been really helpful. You kind of have that outward view, and then you also have your inward view, which every business has. Are you looking after your workers? Are they happy? Are they supported? What is their how is their well-being? Are they in a great place to produce good work? Do they have the right skills and the right training to be able to go to our clients and say, this is an ethical way, or this is the best way, not only for you to get profit, but in a way for you to market yourselves in a way that is good. We're not greenwashing. We're not trying to get a sale at any cost. We're being authentic. Trust is a huge thing across a lot of industries, and I'd say it's essential in something like marketing. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Having that roadmap of going, what impact can we make? It's been really valuable for that.
I think from our own little B Corp journey as well, I feel like it really helped us establish values. I think it's kind of like a values-based way of trying to grow and manage a company. And I don't know how big your company is, but we were really small, and we're still a small business when we went through the process. But I think it really helped us actually think about what are our values and how do we activate them. And I think that helped us actually build a bit of a culture.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that because you know what? It's so broad what you can do, right? It's huge. If you're thinking, what am I going to do to make my business good? It's like, well, everything you do and every decision that you make should be in the direction of, is this going to harm or is this going to help? But then actually taking it back, you can't do everything and you can't put your energy into absolutely everything. So you do have to have a strategy almost. You could call it a B Corp strategy, or you could just call it your mission. And what are you going to focus on? What are we going to focus on as a business? And this is always going to shift. It's always going to change. I think we've got about 50, 55 employees, and we're at that stage where, I mean, in marketing, it's hectic anyway. Marketing agencies are known for being very busy, wild places to work. And we're almost fighting against that stigma because we, as a priority, want to make sure that our employees are well looked after. So we have a really sort of incredible wellbeing package that helps all of our employees. We have access to like mental health therapists. We've got a wellbeing budget because at the core of our business is our workers. And, that's one of our top priorities. And like you say, having those values in place and having those priorities has really helped us be able to shape those, and also like budget for this sort of impact and looking after employees. That budget, the wellbeing budget, could have gone on anything. But no, that budget has been allocated to this because we know that our workers are really, and they're vital to our business. And in order for us to continue to flourish.
So you mentioned also that you're Green Small Business certified. Can you just quickly explain what that means as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's essentially another accreditation. But what was really interesting with the Green Small Business is they walk you through and they help you do a roadmap for what you could improve. Now, this is really helpful for us in terms of the environment in particular. And it was a bit more of a joint venture, really. Again, for us, it was great to kind of go, great, we are already doing this. All of this is already in the back of our mind. But then with the Green Small Business, it was helpful to work with them to open up possibilities and get that roadmap in place as well, which we've been working through for the last 3 years.
And that helps you reduce your impact or your carbon footprint. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more environment led. Tricky one in marketing for the environment, because like I said, you do have the impact on, we have offices, we have office recycling, we want to have green energy suppliers, we work with technology, so we all have laptops and we rent those rather than buy them, and so we don't have any waste in that respect. And there's a few things that they helped us in terms of the environmental impact and kind of opened our eyes to a few opportunities. We also offset our carbon through ecology. It's a tricky one with offsetting because I'm really passionate about the concept of education around responsible use of things like AI to reduce your footprint rather than just offsetting. I know it's like a time-old argument, but if we can be a pioneer in responsible energy use, like digitally, and we can train or offer guidance to our clients who often don't have time to think about this sort of thing. I've spoken to a number of our clients and they're fascinated because especially with emerging technology use, it's also new. Everyone's just getting their foot in the door and they're trying new things. And if we can show the best practice in terms of sustainable use and also ethical use around privacy policies and, using ChatGPT and making sure that you're not sharing all of your clients' work. All of these things need to be considerations. And if we can be a sort of pioneer in that from a marketing sense, that's what our vision is at Hallam. Then going back to the kind of environmental side of it, it was really good to get that roadmap in place. It's really important, but it's almost bigger than that. It's wider than that. But being able to get an accreditation like this then gives you inspiration to dive into other areas, lay that foundation, and then grow from there.
And the B Corp movement obviously is a very fast-growing movement, but we're seeing specifically more and more marketing agencies becoming B Corp. Why do you think that is?
There's a huge shift happening in the marketing industry, and I am so here for it. It's so great to see. we believe in a very different type of business, and the legacy way of running a marketing agency is just getting so outdated. And, we should know as a marketing agency, authenticity is huge. People are inundated with content. They are inundated with, greenwashing for years. Because we're consuming so much now, it is so much easier to see when a brand isn't being authentic. And marketing agencies are having to shift, because the ways that they were set up and the ways that they used to function and what people want to see has shifted. So everyone's had to just change the way they work. So I'm hoping that more and more marketing agencies getting B Corp certified means that shift is happening in a positive way. I think it's incredible. And I hope Hallam can be a part of that changing landscape. Culture is a huge part of any business. And if you have a good internal culture at a marketing agency that is aligned with your values, you're going to be producing really great work for your agency. If we can evoke a culture that is aligned with something like B Corp and has that care ingrained, the type of work you're going to be producing for your clients is going to be directing your clients and you as an agency in that way that is a force for good, is having a positive impact. I really hope that the more marketing agencies become B Corp certified, we know that you have that workers section. You know that means that the culture is going to be influenced, hopefully in a really positive way. And if we can all be making that shift towards just doing work in this authentic way, doing work in a way that really makes a positive impact, I think it's fantastic.
And looking at it from an environmental perspective, do you think the climate crisis is more of a communications problem that we need to solve? Do you think marketing agencies have a big responsibility here?
That's a big question. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it all comes back to this idea of responsibility. And you have people who will be, extreme in their viewpoints and be very environmental led. As a marketing agency, what our role is to kind of encompass everyone's view and make sure that we're not ignoring anybody, but we're influencing in the right way. So it's not really a matter of saying, yes, I agree, or I think this is greenwashing, or I think this maybe isn't right. Because as a marketing agency, we're almost covering a multitude of viewpoints and influencing, guiding in a specific way, and making sure that we own that responsibility to making sure that it's positive. And also it comes down to, as a marketing agency, the clients that you work with is huge, because they're ultimately the impact that you're going to have on the world. If you're choosing to boost certain types of businesses through their marketing efforts and grow certain businesses, you want to be working with businesses that are doing good environmentally or otherwise. So as a rule, we don't work with certain businesses. Like we turned down Airbus as a client because they just didn't align environmentally with where we wanted to be as an agency and that impact that they have on the environment. It's those what seem like small decisions that I think push a marketing agency into having a stand environmentally as well, and actually having an impact on that kind of global environmental crisis.
Cool, thank you for that. Marketing agencies often have a reputation for being high pressure or even toxic environments. How does Hallam challenge that stereotype?
Again, culture. They have been historically, and they do have this reputation. If we can shift that internal culture, if we are looking after our workers, don't get me wrong, marketing agencies are still very high pressure. You're working with multiple clients, lots of demands, time turnarounds. Everyone wants to be seeing the impact that they're having. They want to see that their money is making progress for their business. They want to see their businesses growing. At the moment, it's very difficult for marketing agencies. Marketing budgets are shrinking. People are taking the marketing in-house. People are wondering what their money is going towards when they're spending on a marketing agency. So there is pressure, but it means that we're having to shift and we're having to change into what does it mean to be a marketing agency today, which aligns really nicely with going through something like the B Corp recertification, because not only are we saying, okay, what are we doing as a marketing agency? What are we providing for our clients? But we're also then saying, how can we do this in a good way? So that means that we're now laying foundations of the values that we were speaking about before. What are our values? What can we offer our clients? What is going to be a benefit to them? And making sure that we're not built on a culture of profit at any cost. You know, people work to live. No, the other way around. No, hang on, which way around is it? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, people work to live. Right?
Well, we all
Exactly.
need money, don't we, to survive? So
Yes, exactly. And making sure that people are coming to work and enjoying what they're doing. We work with a number of different charities, and we also work with predominantly like B2B businesses. And that's a real difference. As a worker working for Hallam, there's a little feel-good element if you're working with a charity. And so we're making sure that we've got a bit of a balance over, not only are we working with B2B businesses and providing them with, you know, positive, authentic, impactful marketing, we're doing the same for our charities. And it's kind of making sure that we've got that overlap of what does it mean to do good work? What does it mean to have a good culture? What does it mean to provide positive impact while also having a positive impact internally?
We were just talking actually before this podcast, because apparently earlier this week, a study by Marketing Week has revealed that 2/3 of marketers feel overwhelmed during the past 12 months, while well over half feel undervalued and emotionally exhausted. And I just wondered what your perspective of this was, or if you have any advice to business owners. Perhaps they have marketing in-house. You know, what can they do to try and protect their marketing team or all of their workers from this kind of burnout that we're seeing?
Yeah, definitely. I completely get those statements. It's been a hard year. It's been a really hard year, and you see this across the board. Let's go back 12 months. But yeah, let's be honest. The last 2 months, it's not been easy. Yeah. It's not been easy for agencies, but also the businesses themselves. You know, speaking to the marketing teams that we kind of work within, sometimes I like to see our agency as an extension of in-house marketing teams. That's kind of how it's going. And especially the type of businesses that we work with. Everyone is having to work harder with less budget and wanting to see better results. And that is hard. Now, we're also have the brilliant AI is coming in and is really helping streamline systems. So if you can utilize something like this tool, streamline your system, and hopefully be producing more and better marketing output, utilizing a tool like this, hopefully that should alleviate some stress for your teams. It definitely reduces time, and it also allows maybe time that is saved to be put towards something else, whether that's development of your workers. You know, if you can reduce the time it takes to produce a campaign, for example, you have a day that you've saved. Instead of saying, okay, we're just going to pocket that, or produce more, fill the time, could you maybe give that to development time or volunteering time? You know, we're in that bit of a shift where we're experimenting. If you do find a system that works and is a bit more streamlined, can we utilize that time elsewhere and make sure that we're protecting our workers? You know, what do they want at the end of the day? We do volunteering at Hallam, and they're always fantastic days, whether it's like a litter pick or something else within the community. And the more we can do that, if people are enjoying coming to work and seeing that we're doing good and we're not just stressed and overworked? Are there little impacts that we can make internally? Yeah, I think that's a really good one that we've seen work very well.
And building on that, what is good culture for you at Hallam?
I think it's a mix of things. It's enjoying coming to work, ultimately. It's having a shared vision. We do this in a number of different ways, that we're very transparent. I remember when I started about 3 years ago, before I got promoted to the head of experience, we were still hearing about where the company was going, the company vision, accounting, what happens if we hit these targets, what are our targets financially and otherwise. And we can do that in a business like ours because we're, small to medium business. It's a little bit easier. Taking everyone on a journey and getting everyone aligned. We've just become employee owned, which is huge. It now means we have an employee council, which have a say at specific points of the year. And we get a voice as employees now. If we can be taken on the growth journey of the company, it means that the culture hopefully kind of goes along with that. I think we're very lucky in that sense. For bigger companies and companies with a slightly different governance structure, culture is almost as important as strategy, if not more. You can have a strategy, but if you're not taking your employees along with you, you're not going to be producing the best work. And you're going to have that internal dynamic which doesn't align with where you're going. So culture, I would say, is absolutely vital. And that is making sure that you give your employees a voice, they're looked after, and going on a positive journey, I think, is a really nice way to sum that up.
How do you measure your environmental and social impact as a service business?
It's actually a really difficult one as a service-based business. It's not as visible as product. You don't have something that you can hold on to and say, this supply chain is good. But if you strip it down, say, I went to China and I had a pair of jeans in my hand and I could say where the cotton's grown. I could say who made this. I could say who made the little tears, who dyed it, how was it shipped to the UK, what was it packaged in. It's quite easy because you have these visible stages, as it were. So if you look at a service-based business, what stages do you jump through to ultimately have your end product, which is influence and impact? And these things, I think, actually B Corp split up quite nicely. How is the business structured? Workers is huge for us. What social impact do we have on the community? And, how do we ultimately deliver our product, which is a service? So in terms of environmental, we look at a lot of different things. So we have the devices that we use, we have our internet providers, we have our AI usage calculators, and all of that mixed into one. We do have an office. I would say that's probably the least of our concerns compared to all the other impacts we have environmentally. We have our offsetting. So we know what has gone into the machine and what has had an environmental impact. I think that's probably, we have a much higher impact when it comes to socially, especially on our workers and on our community. Community is a big one for us. We work with Nottingham Trent Uni. We support kind of students in their journey. We work with a lot of local businesses. We make sure we source locally. We always have local food vendors at any events that we do. We do work with local community. We offer our marketing services locally. I'd say that's how we measure our social impact, though it's harder to give it any kind of quantifiable impact data. B Corp obviously helps with that, and actually governance and the community we were really, really high in compared to a lot of marketing agencies, which is really great to see.
I think you mentioned a few bits there about your supply chain. How does that come into it? I guess you have to have quite good relationships with your suppliers. And you mentioned things like your hosting site? You want to choose a green hosting site, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Technically, there's a lot of things that you can do. Got hosting. Obviously, we have our energy supplier. So we worked with where we rent. We have an office in Nottingham, and we spoke to them and we asked them if we could switch to a green energy supplier. We are actually remote first working. So we have a lot of our team which are based all over the place. And we have a document which we send out, which is, all about how you can set up your home office in a responsible and sustainable way. There's lots of different touch points which could be seen as a small amount of impact. But actually, once you add all of these together, as with any business, I think it starts to push in the right direction. If you could be making those micro decisions in a good way, ultimately your business is going forward in a good way as well.
Yeah, I always try and get across to everyone at work that it's just like thinking of every single tiny thing in the business. So it's everything we buy and every single thing that leaves us as waste. So, even where you're putting your crisp packet, please put it in the right bin, put it in the soft plastic recycling. And it's just, and it does all add up.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Every single decision and every single influence point that you have, if it's made with intention and it's made with the intention of doing good or at least as little harm as you can. I mean, there's that beautiful quote from Patagonia, which is, it's all about doing the least harm. We are going to have hurt. We're going to cause harm. We're humans. We create mess in the world. We consume. We have to consume to live. But how are we going to do this in a way that's going to create the least amount of harm across all of those different areas? So that could be environmentally or it could be socially. I think vitally for businesses like a marketing agency, or if you're within the marketing department of a company, it's how we creating the least amount of harm in the influence that we create.
Yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned offsetting a few times, and I think that gets like a really bad rap, which it should be, because you get these big corporates using it in a very bad way to greenwash. But I think as long as you're reducing your carbon footprint as much as you can, there's always going to be, we're always going to have some impact, aren't we? And if you want to use that in a way where you can contribute to something good happening, you don't necessarily have to call it offsetting, I guess, do you? But you're using a portion of your money to contribute to a good project.
Yes, I think the tricky thing within this is the word offsetting. Because if you are educating at a level all the way from employee, all the way to the clients that you work with, from, your C-suite, if you're educating to be responsible and make decisions with care in an ethical and sustainable way, that's the best way that you can be moving forward as a business. Don't get me wrong, these massive businesses that are offsetting, these offsetting projects are fantastic projects. Brilliant. If they've got money that they want to put towards some of these projects, fantastic. I'm glad that these projects can happen because of that. But if they're then using that offsetting as a way to say we're doing good, and then they're not trying to reduce their impact in other ways, that's when the issue comes in.
Yeah. And I think like you said, working with something like the Green Small Business certification, that can really guide you on that as a business, and kind of make sure you don't fall down those or fall into that trap.
Yes, definitely. I also think it's about showing the outcomes of decisions that you make as a business, because as much as office recycling is important, of course it is, that's a culture thing. And if we can embed that kind of culture, that sort of thing should be easy in my view. And actually, how do we embed that kind of culture and that kind of thinking? It's showing the outcomes of the decisions and how much they're working. So for us, it's, working with a client, guiding them on, allowing them the knowledge and the understanding of how to run their website in an ethical or a sustainable way. Like, okay, there's all sorts of research going on into, dark mode, light mode. Dark mode uses less energy. Light mode uses a lot more energy because it's brighter. Can we be designing websites in a way that are going to consume less energy? Can you have the dark mode functionality? Can users choose what they want to see? Again, this goes all the way down to almost accessibility. Can you have super accessible websites? It's a sliding scale. How are we going to educate our clients on what's the best thing to produce for them? Once we start seeing these outcomes and we see our clients producing fantastic websites, which have all of these options ingrained, hopefully the culture of this actually works. We've produced not only a good product, but we've produced it in a sustainable way. This is a good way to do business. And if you do that at every single touch point, it really starts to make that impact. The culture starts to go in that direction. And generally, as businesses who want to do good, we're influencing other businesses to do the same because we're saying, you know what, it works. The way we do business works.
So I want to talk about transparency and trust. So they're really big themes in sustainability, but marketing has historically struggled with both of them. How do you reconcile that?
Marketing is a really powerful tool, and we definitely have a responsibility within that. I think that consumers of marketing content are really waking up to anything that isn't transparent, that isn't authentic. I think they're almost doing the job for us. If you are putting out marketing content that isn't transparent and isn't authentic, people notice it now. And it means that businesses are having to change. And it's unfortunate that this is the way around that it's had to be. You hope that a lot of businesses were doing this anyway. But the idea of greenwashing, consumers are clued up on this now. They know what to look for. They don't just take statements as golden and as, this is the truth anymore. They're going to do their research. They know if something seems a bit pie in the sky thinking. And it's so easy to sense check and go and do a little bit of research now. Consumers are doing it. They're educating themselves. And if a business is putting out claims that are false or aren't fully transparent, they are going to get pulled up on it fairly quickly. So it does mean that marketing and marketers are having to ingrain transparency and ingrain authenticity in everything that they put out. People like businesses that are authentic. It's huge. And I'm hoping it will stay that way, because it does mean that the impact that we have is open. And that's come definitely from kind of the consumer standpoint, I think. And if that's the way it's happened, fine. It's only a good thing, I think.
Do you ever get any problems with green hushing? So do you get businesses who are scared to talk about their achievements for fear of backlash?
Absolutely. And it's a big part of what we do is how do we communicate this in the right way? Mm. How do we communicate in a way that's going to resonate with your customers? Because if you're doing good work, we need to be shouting about it, but we need to showcase it in a way that is going to be absorbed in the right way. So yeah, it's a big part of what we do is the communication sides of that. And I think a lot of that comes through in the copy that you're using, the tone of voice that you have across your marketing materials and on your website. It comes from almost the brand strategy side. How are we going to communicate this? How is it going to resonate? Thinking, is it going to land in a way that could be negative? And how do we mitigate that? What does a user need to see? What does a customer need to see in order to believe what we're saying? Because if you are doing good, there is going to be a way that you can communicate in a way that's going to resonate with your customers. Do they need to see more proof points? Do they need to see stats? Do they need to have see accreditations? Do they need to see testimonials? Do they, what content can we give customers that's going to allow them to absorb the type of information that we want to get across in the right way.
Nice. So, final question. It's 10 years from now. What does the world look like, and how has Hallam made a difference?
I really hope that we're keeping going on the trajectory that we're going, and we're less driven by constant urgency and more focused on the long-term value for people and the planet. I think we're going in this way already, and I really hope it continues, that sustainability isn't going to be a separate conversation like it has been historically. We are seeing it being merged into how businesses think and how businesses grow. It is a value driver. And if we can ingrain sustainability and ethical decisions into how businesses operate, I really hope we're going to be building healthier cultures. And from a marketing point of view, I think if we could be more honest by the way we market and really take responsibility for the influence that we have as businesses, I'm hoping Hallam can play a big part in how that happens and how that rolls out. So I think that's going to be absolutely vital going forward.
That's a wrap. Cool.
Brilliant.
Well, really nice to meet you today, and thanks for your time as well. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. We hope it was truly
Earth your while.
For more information, visit reuserbox.co.uk/earthyourwhile.
And if you'd like to appear on the next series of Earth Your While, please email media@reuserbox.co.uk.